New York City attracts buyers from all over the world, but many buyers relocating to New York City don't really understand how different New York City real estate is, and that could be a costly mistake. In this video, I'm breaking down the top 5 mistakes buyers make when relocating to New York City. My name is Chris Jordan. I'm a luxury real estate agent here in New York City, and these are relocators' top mistakes. Let's go. Number 1 is understanding the complexity of co-ops. I think before you relocate to New York City, the number 1 thing you should understand is the different ownership structures. In New York City, we have condos, we have co-ops, and we have townhouses. Condo and townhouses are really easy to understand because those are like real property just like anywhere else. Co-ops is a little bit different. I did do a full breakdown on condos versus co-ops, so please go watch that for a full in-depth breakdown on co-ops. However, when it comes to co-ops, you're buying a share inside of a building. So you don't get a deed, you get something we call a proprietary lease. If you're okay with the ownership structure of co-ops, the next thing is deciding if you're okay with going through the rigorous process of getting accepted into a co-op. I think a lot of times buyers relocating to New York City think whether it's agents, lawyers, or people they know in New York, they think we really underestimate how hard the co-op process can be. You know, it's all different building to building, but co-op's process can be a very long and rigorous and invasive process. I know buyers who got all the way near the finish line and decided that the co-op board is being too invasive. So let me look into the camera. The co-op board and process will be invasive. So if you're not open to doing a full audit on not only your life, your personal life, but also your personal finances, I'll definitely suggest going in a different direction. So number 1, before relocating to New York City, understanding the complexity of co-ops. Let's move on. Number 2, understanding different neighborhoods. In New York City, every neighborhood has an extensive history and a story to tell. New York City is unique because every neighborhood is almost like a city inside of a city. I think really understanding the neighborhood's history and the neighborhood's story will tell you a lot about why it's structured the way it's structured. Now, I try to do this in my neighborhood guides, but you also have to get an idea of the vibe, feel the energy, because all different neighborhoods give different energies. You have to know the restaurants, the coffee shops, the gyms. There's something, this is things I like to call the amenities. The amenities outside of your building and see if it aligns with your lifestyle. Not only that, but also something I like to tell my clients is knowing about zoning laws, because zoning laws in different neighborhoods are different. You could take a neighborhood like Soho where commercial and residential zoning is together. So what that means is your apartment could be right next to a storefront, and that could really affect foot traffic, especially in the spring, summer, holiday seasons, all seasons, right? But then you have a neighborhood like Chelsea. Chelsea is one of our trendy neighborhoods. But one thing about Chelsea is it is very vibrant. It is a lot of things to do, but the commercial real estate is placed on the avenues, and you have the residential real estates on the side streets. So you get the quiet residential feel, but steps away, you have a lot of vibrancy. So I think that's something unique about Chelsea. And listen, all these neighborhoods have something different. All these neighborhoods are structured different, but that's why I think it's so important to learn about the different neighborhoods before you relocate to New York City. But I can go on for hours, I can go on for days about the different neighborhoods and why they're important. But that's a video for another time. Again, I do neighborhood guides, and I do have more coming this spring. So we'll get more in depth in a different video about that. But let's move on to number 3. Number 3, understanding that every building is its own market. This could have honestly been number 1. And I think this is the most important thing in the video. And I think this is very, very unique to New York City, because I know a lot of times outside of New York City, people pull comps for real estate by square footage, neighborhood, things like that. And New York City is very, very micro to the building. So what that means, you can see 2 units in 2 different buildings on the same block, same size, with vastly different prices. And you may ask, Chris, why is that? To give you a specific answer, I would have to know the specific unit, but let me tell you some things that may come into play. It can be amenities. Inside of one building, it may have all the 5-star resort hotel amenities, where another building just have a small gym. It could be the financial health of the building. That goes into play a lot. Going back to co-ops, our number one thing, it could be board reputation planning, and it can just be some structural things. It can be better layouts in one building, better views. It could be a whole list of things why one building is going for a different price than another. One of my favorite things to say, especially in real estate, is the market makes the market, and a building is going to go for whatever people are willing to pay for. But knowing the building and really digging deep inside the data is very, very important. Common charges, monthly fees can be another thing. There's just so many things. That's why you have to know that each building is a separate market, because there's just so many things that go on inside of these buildings. But let's move on. Number 4, ignoring total monthly costs. New York City monthly costs go way beyond just mortgage, principal, and interest. Monthly fees can be maintenance fees for co-ops, common charges for condos. You have property tax, you have insurance, you have utilities if it's not included. Some co-ops do include it. I think people relocating inside of the country kind of get a good grasp of monthly fees, but a lot of times people outside the country don't. They pay different monthly fees where they're from. So I always like to tell people, let's do it again. You got common or maintenance fees, insurance, property tax, and you have utilities. If it's not included, and I'm going to be honest, a lot of times the utilities is not included. So I always tell people that's relocating to New York City, just never forget to budget those reoccurring costs, because it can add up. All right, so let's move on. Number 5, ignoring walkability and commuter needs. We spoke about neighborhoods, we spoke about building. I want to talk about commuter needs. Now, this could have went in neighborhoods, but I think it deserved its own section. When it comes to commuter needs, you really have to know what you need, right? Because if you're always going to drive, if you have a driver, you take car service, things like that, there's some neighborhoods that may accommodate that more than others, not saying it's impossible. For example, in the West Village, it can take you a little bit longer by car to get some places. It's not great parking in the West Village, but you could take a neighborhood like Tribeca, and I think Tribeca is made for car service. There's not a lot of traffic, and it's close to the highway. Usually it's not a lot of traffic in Tribeca. You know, New York City is New York City. Now, if train is something you're going to be taking often, you have to really understand your proximity to different train stations. Let me give you an example. So let's say you live in Hudson Yards, but you want to work in a financial district. Are you okay with walking to the 34th Street station? Or are you going to catch the 7 train to Grand Central to get on the 4 or 5 train, right? And you also got to have different seasons in mind. Walking to 34th Street is probably not going to be that likely in the winter. And I love walking, but this winter I've been getting on the quickest trains and I've been transferring, right? There are some stops like Fulton Street and 14th Street that you can get a train pretty much anywhere in the city. So just understanding the proximity to the train station, understanding traffic, understanding highways. And also, don't underestimate the value of a walkable community. Are there grocery stores near? Like we said, gyms, Pilates studios, all types of things. These are things that you definitely want to consider when choosing your next apartment and relocating to New York City. With that being said, one thing I always like to say, I think New York City really rewards informed buyers, and it really punishes assumptions, so never ever make assumptions. If you relocate to New York City, really be knowledgeable about all the things we spoke about: buildings, costs, neighborhoods, monthly fees, so on and so on. I think if you do that, you will have a positive experience. If not, it can cause stress, it can cause money, and it can create regret. So we never ever want that, right? My name is Chris Jordan. I'm a luxury real estate agent here in New York City. I really hope this video gave you some clarity on some of the things to watch out for if you're relocating to New York City. If you have any questions on the New York City real estate market or anything specific on what we spoke about, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email. My email will be there. Other than that, if you enjoyed this video, please watch the next video on your screen, and I'll see you on the next one.